All right. Just to give a little background of what I've been working on, there is a blog called Data Lens DC, and I guess it's like the Open Austin of Washington, DC. And the author, Kate Rabinowitz, did a little data UI about the number of women who spoke at DC tech meetups. And so these were some, like just a small handful selection of like 15 to 20 different meetups. And for all meetups that only had a single speaker, that was never a woman in 2016, which I found really shocking. And then the number of meetups that had multi-speakers or lightning talks were also very few women who spoke there. And so it was Amelie's idea to recreate this for Austin. So we forked the project, tweaked it a little bit to work with Austin, and it was like 3 different Python scripts, and you had to manually edit some CSVs in order to get this working. And that blog is out. Let me try to find it. So this is the Austin analysis. So some of these meetups you might recognize: Bleeding Edge, Cloud Austin, Ember ATX, Linux, Open Austin, OpenStack. Just like, it was a random selection of the top 50 meetups in town with the most attendees. And, yes. So yeah, JavaScript or Austin.js is not going to be on that list, but we could definitely do it by hand. Actually, I don't think it's a good idea because I'm still relying on the Meetup API to populate the application. Right. So I'd like to just take you through the flow of what that looks like. And this application does not have a back end. The idea is for meetup organizers to take a CSV or an Excel sheet and import it into this application. And then it's going to auto-populate the fields. So Rob, you're an Ember ATX organizer. You would fill out just Ember ATX's page, and then export the CSV and then copy it back over to Dropbox, where it's shared among all meetup organizers who want to help give their statistics. It would be nice if there was a backend eventually where you like OAuth to sign in with Meetup, and we see, oh, you're the organizer of a couple meetups. Please, can you fill these out? That was not part of my MVP when I did this. So let's see, 78705 is downtown Austin. Let's find some groups in there. And we're going to select some meetups from this list. Here we have a little breadcrumb section of the flow. So first you find meetups, then you select them, then you notate, and then you export your CSV. Right? So let's see. Refresh is a pretty big one. Open Austin is pretty big. React.js Austin meetup, yep. Yep, I can do women who code. The random selection of meetups was not so random because no women specific tech meetups were chosen. There's different reasons behind that, but they thought they would inflate the statistics or like weigh the statistics more heavily towards women than what was actually accurate for like gender agnostic meetups. Right. I guess these are alphabetical. No, that's not true. What else? Doesn't matter. So we can start notating and identifying events. And Refresh had 16 events in 2016. Some of those were male speakers, so you would say this event had no speakers. This event had 1 male speaker and 1 female speaker. And then at the top of the page, like those statistics would come in and you would get like some sort of analysis. So I'm gonna hard refresh this. Statistics that were already done. So these are the like 16 Austin meetups that we went ahead and annotated. And so let's look at something like Austin WordPress meetup group. So this one was like pretty good as far as like representing females. As I went through it, it was the same person. Like one of the same women kept coming over and over. I think she's a meetup organizer, which is cool. Like we definitely need to have that. But I think Amelie found some statistics. Then 21% of tech jobs are filled by women in Austin. The national average is 27. And we definitely don't see that kind of representation in meetup speakers. Like 21% of meetup speakers are not women, are the statistics that we found. So I think it's interesting to just click through some of these and see like what the stats are. So 3 male speakers, 0 female. Didn't look like there were many events. So you can see this one's 11% female, 13%. Bleeding Edge Web had 26 men speak and didn't have a female speaker last year. So I'm not trying to hold like meetups accountable, but I think the statistics can be better. And there's nothing wrong with having diversity of speakers and having people feel more included, whether that be beginners or people who are further along in their career. Ember ATX had 3 female speakers last year. I think one of those were lightning talks, and a lot of these were lightning talks. So I think we had a couple lightning talk sessions where it would be
about 5 lightning talks.
Yeah, really?
To fill a, yeah. To fill a,
yeah.
time slot.
And a couple of our events were lightning talk events. And a typical representation of that would be 4 men and 1 woman. So that's part of, I think, what inflated the statistics this way. And I'm still working on the UI portion of it. I think it's good enough to have people actually use this tool, or to put it in the hands of other Austin organizers, Austin meetup organizers, and just fill out events specific to their meetup. That's what's kind of the most time-consuming thing about this. Google Developer Group, Open Austin. Yeah. What I found is tech agnostic meetups, ones that are not specific to a certain technology stack, I think have more opportunities for diversity, more opportunities just to bring in somebody to talk about anything and to be friendly towards all groups and all skill levels.
Alex,
Yeah.
I was going to point that out earlier when you said Amelie from the statistic. If Austin, you said there was 21% that were women involved in tech.
Yeah.
Of that 21%, though, not all 21 are developers.
Nope.
Let's say.
Not at all.
Some are going to be recruiters, tech recruiters, designers, whatever. So I think that has a lot to do because most of these meetups that we're looking at kind of have to do with development. That's what it seems like.
They do, yeah. Because those are the meetups that are organized.
Right.
Right.
So then I was going to ask you if you had looked at any meetups where it's not so centered around development and it's just like more agnostic, like tech.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah.
Open Austin is definitely one of those meetups.
Yeah.
Just like a general data meetup. DC had a lot more of those meetups than Austin did. And maybe that's just because it's focused more around civic tech than Austin is. Austin is a very language-focused town. And communities are built around languages. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that weighted towards developers, which probably does not have 21% like tech jobs filled by women, or not 21% of developers are women. It's probably less than that, just by my experience.
So what are the next steps for the app? And if someone doesn't know Python, can they still contribute?
Yeah, so this is not a Python application.
Well, I thought I heard
Yep.
you read Python scripts.
Yeah, that was the original Washington, D.C. analysis was done through Python and Python scripts. This is an Ember application that you're seeing. Yeah, it's actually super, super Ember-y. It's probably like the most Ember-y thing I've ever worked on. In that, like, models are tied directly to routes. This whole flow, this breadcrumb flow you see of like, okay, this is the groups page, and let's click on a different one. Here's refresh, right? So here you still see part of the groups page. These are all the groups. Here's
Your master detail view kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then this right here is just the individual group page, and nested within that are the events pages. So just right here on this like dashboard view, you have index, groups, group, and group events, like all in there. And so using Ember for that was really awesome.
You just have the breadcrumbs going off of the route, like where you are in the route tree.
Yep, the breadcrumbs are in the application route, and the application controller has current route name, and so you're able to like build different things with that. So I like look ahead a little bit in order to build those, but
I'm curious, since I have very recent experience with the Meetup API.
Yeah.
How are you handling cores and stuff? Are you doing like the OAuth shake whenever you connect, or you didn't run into any cores? Did you run into any cores? I'm
running into no cores whatsoever. That's because I'm not doing OAuth, and my full disclosure, my API key is in GitHub Pages, so I'm able to get around that. But I don't think that matters very much. I'm not concerned. There's no there might be a rate request limit that's hit, but this application is used by very, very few people. People who want to do data analysis, right? Who want to take it to the next level.
I hit cores just trying to pull one event from a Meetup. It's ridiculously annoying.
Yeah.
I spun up an entire Rails API just to pull that URL down and then send it to me with no cores headers.
Really?
Yeah, just so I could display one Meetup for the Ember ATX website.
What?
Meetup, yeah.
Hmm.
It's because I didn't want to. Well, I couldn't even figure out sending the key with it wouldn't even
really
fix it. Yeah, they really wanted you to OAuth because the origin is set whenever you do your redirect on the OAuth.
Yeah. Well, Meetup has kind of a developer tool on their web app where they're try it in the console, and you click it, and then I just went into DevTools and saw what the key was, and they're using my public Meetup API key, so I just copied the way that they were sending their request. So I didn't have any problems with that.
Happy to eliminate that Rails API.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's export to CSV. That's pretty easy. And then we can see what that looks like. If you don't specify any of the speakers, they're just left totally blank. So the way it works, there's the group ID, the group name, the event ID, the event name, and then all the speakers for that. And the reason I do that is because when I click import, I can get all the IDs right away that you need to display the information. And then I send requests to Meetup with those specific IDs. So the page is populated with exactly what was exported in the CSV. And the reason that that's important is, let's say, what's a meetup? Let's say Austin RB says, hey, we want to use our statistics, or we want to populate the global CSV with our speakers. So clicking that would add Austin RB. And so if we export right now, sorry, this is getting into the weeds. But here we have the group and the name, right? Because we haven't fetched any events yet. So importing that would bring us exactly to the page that we are right now. And it was, the way I tried to design this was importing is basically like doing a hard refresh if you have things actually stored on the server, which we don't. So when we click Austin RB, now we went ahead and fetched all the events. So what happens if we export from here? Now we have all of the events and the event names, but none of the speaker tallies are filled out. Right? And so let's say documentation for developers had 1 female speaker. Now it's 100%. So exporting that would fill in just one of the rows with the speakers. Yeah. So if we were to import this CSV and go back to this route, that's what would happen. However, a hard refresh bring a lot of information inside query params. So right now we still have all of the meetups that we selected. However, none of the events are filled in. So I'm trying to figure out how to use local storage for that. I think that you asked me what the next steps for the app were. I would like to have a hard refresh not screw you up. Because right now, if you hard refresh, you're like, oh, now I got to import my CSV again, and you kind of have to start over. Like you have to keep your CSV current, which is not great. And that's because there is no backend. Yeah. So there are no real server requests to get these numbers. So cookies is another way to do that. I've been thinking about it. The next step is going to be a D3 visualization. So each and every single meetup is going to have their own D3 graph. If we're on the, say, the select page, maybe at the top right here, it would be all the meetups you currently have selected and what their yearly totals are. I think that would be a really cool graphic. So, and then I'd like to get a backend for this eventually. That's not a goal of mine right now. Right now, this is a tool for data analysts to have a better way of getting their data. Eventually, it'll be a tool for meetup organizers to see how they're doing, how their city is doing, and how they could do better if diversity is one of their goals. Right now, if diversity is one of your goals, what you can do, is go to WeSpeakToo.org/Austin. And this is a list of, and it's like growing every day, which is pretty cool. Looks
like it grew.
Yep, it did. It was just released or just made public like 2 or 3 days ago. And this is a list of women in the Austin area who would like to speak at a meetup and be contacted to speak at a meetup. But yeah, maybe the ones they attend are not ones that their specific skill levels, or tech stack levels, language, software, and specialties don't coincide with that. And so, Rob, if you're looking for speakers and something looks interesting, or if you already have a speaker for, say, January, and it's under a certain topic, and you know what that topic is going to be, having a supplementary talk that goes along with that. But again, what we saw was that very, very few single speaker meetups are women, or also non-binary people. I haven't brought that up because I don't really know how to identify somebody as non-binary if they're not open about it online or open about it in person. It's a hard thing for me to identify. So I kind of need meetup organizers in order to help with that. But yeah,
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question is like, so this takes care of, or this puts effort behind, let's see who's speaking. What about who's attending? How could that data be collected?
well, Meetup does return like an RSVP yes object, where it gives you all the attendees who have RSVP'd yes. So you'd have to, again, identify each one of those attendees
Yeah, that's problematic.
under a certain gender, and
And then you have
It's
to
like I
account
don't want
for,
to assign a gender to. Like,
the 50% of the people that RSVP actually don't show up.
yep, exactly. But you're right. That is something that would be really interesting to see. Like, what percentage of like attendees like identify as a certain gender, and among those, what percentage of those are speakers? Like, that would be interesting.
it would be really cool to have like some kind of tool that is a data collection point for that. Like, let's say you are a meetup organizer, a place where you could go to every time you put on a meetup, like look around the room and just report some numbers and throw it in there.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yep. Definitely before that becomes a feature, like education about this tool has to go out there. So yeah, I'm excited to see what's going to come of it and who wants to use it. That'll be interesting. I'd also like to extend this to not be about gender and gender identity,
Yeah.
but also race and ethnicity. And like WeSpeakToo, talking to Kate from DC, like what it means is like, yes, we also want to speak at your meetup events, but like we're also doing our own thing. Like we're talking, we're learning, we're speaking. It just might not be at your meetup, right? And so it's kind of saying, yes, we're in this industry too, and we're doing our own thing, but let's like bridge the gap and like bring groups together and bring people together. But it's going to take some work. Yeah.
You know, if like this kept growing, one thing you could do to make data collection easier is there's like a WeSpeakToo group or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
where meetups and meetup users could go register, and it's just like, hey,
Yeah.
like give us your meetup ID or whatever, and if you would like to volunteer to be counted automatically, fill out this like survey thing, so that then anytime you're doing this, if it happens
Mm-hmm.
that you're looking at attendees or something, and their ID is also in your other database,
Yeah.
then that saves you like one data collection point where you have to manually identify them.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you had all these like meetups participating, and it was like, hi, if you want to speak, like we ask that you go sign up on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are attending, like here's a button. If you click this, it'll take you to the register page. And here's why we would like you to do this, but it's optional. You can
Yeah.
learn about it.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
But it does need a back end.
Yeah.
If that is going to happen.
Absolutely.
Which, yeah, I want it to happen. That would be really cool. There are, like, DC has its WeSpeakToo, I guess, leaders. I don't know. And in Austin, that's Amelie. Chicago and Boston are doing it right now. But that's about it. It's a really small thing at the moment. And Austin and DC are the only two cities that have actually the open forums for people to sign up to speak. So yeah, I think you're going to see it growing.
And I wanted to point out that and the link was put in the podcast yesterday.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
That's really cool.
Charles plugged it in.
Yeah, including the tool?
Yeah.
Maybe? All right, cool.
Like if you go to the podcast, like Simplecast page, the link to WeSpeakToo.org is there.
Right on.
Do you have Google Analytics on your member app?
Yeah, right, dude. There's no back end to this anywhere. I guess you don't need one.
Enough
but-
backend for that.
Yeah, throw the script tag in there and see how many people are visiting.
All right, yep, I do care about that. Yep.
Pretty cool to see, like, over time.
Yeah. Rob, I would like for you to do a CSS audit of this because I'm throwing Flexbox everywhere. Every time I want something to be inline, I just use a span tag, which I'm sure is a no-no. Like there should be a reason you use a span tag over something else.
Span sounds that's exactly what span is for.
Okay.
It's like it's an inline level element. And divs are block level elements.
Yeah. But it'd
It's
be
pretty generous with your use of both of those.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you'd be okay with that.
Yeah, it would be really cool if this app was accessible, and it's pretty small.
You're not using
I'm not using Liquid Fire.
Okay.
Yep. I don't really plan on it.
Ember accessibility add-on.
Oh yeah, that's right. All right.
Ember apps aren't accessible out of the box.
Yes, that's true. And this is very route heavy, which is not great for screen readers, right?
Yeah, because screen readers will never know if a route changes in an Ember. Without you specifically doing something about it.
Any more questions about this? I know it's more of like a hack and tell, so it's not like very technically challenging.
It's not a question, but I did want to point out if you do decide to do something with local storage, there may be better solutions, but like local storage is famously a pain to work with.
Okay.
And Mozilla has this thing called local storage. It's basically like a better interface.
Okay.
And Ember has an adapter for it.
Really?
Like an Ember observer, install it out of the box.
Cool.
That might make it really easy if you want to start using that. But I'll find it.
Yeah.
You mentioned cookies. Those would quickly not work.
Why?
You have I think like 60 bytes of available space in cookies.
Really? I thought it was 2K.
Maybe it's 2K, but
Still
it's like
pretty limited.
it's still very very small.
I mean, all I need to do is store like the event ID and then like 3 numbers afterwards, like number of men,
Yeah, you
male
don't have to
speakers.
store any of the descriptions of the.
No.
Because you can get those fresh every time.
Yeah. The only data that I'm adding are male speakers, female speakers, non-binary speakers. That's really the only thing the CSV is used for.
That actually sounds like it might be
Query programmable.
all right. I was gonna say almost not too bad to use local storage for that. If like the key is the ID and the value is an object, you serialize whenever you bring it back out.
Yeah.
Might not be too bad.
Also, if people want to get involved with this,
It's open source.
it is in Ember. Just open source.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
What is open source?
Yep. All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Alex.